Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be bringing you a beginner's guide to crochet. I have wanted to film this video for quite a while now because I feel like, I make crochet tutorials. It would be quite helpful to my subscribers, especially to the beginners, to be introduced maybe to the basics, because I know that often I have a lot of beginners on my channel. So I hope that you can find this video helpful. Please do keep in mind that this is the way that I crochet, this is the way that I learnt. So if you do something differently or if you disagree with something that I do, you can always leave a comment and we can have an open discussion. But without any further ado, let's get into the video. I hope you enjoy. Here is an image that I found on Google of the exact yarn that I use. So I tend to use the Women's Institute Premium Acrylic yarn for most of my crochet projects, but then I also do use the Hayfield Bonus DK yarn as well. I think that acrylic yarn is the best yarn to use for beginners because it is fairly inexpensive, especially in comparison to natural fibre yarns like cotton and wool. However, because acrylic yarn is made with synthetic fibres like polymers, which is essentially plastics, this of course doesn't make it sustainable and it's often not biodegradable. So if you are looking for sustainable options of yarn and wool, I would say look into alpaca wool, maybe sheep's wool, even cotton, but they will be more expensive than acrylic yarn. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. But because acrylic yarn is made from synthetic fibres, it is durable as well as it holds its colour well. It has also been classed hypoallergenic, so it won't disturb any skin sensitivities, which is great for garments. I'm just going to be showing you all of the crochet hooks that I have in the little pencil case and the little pouch that I bought off of Amazon, which I will have linked in the description if I find it, which I most likely will. And here are, the smallest hook that it came with was 2mm to 8mm, but here I'm only showing to 6 because it's not going to fit in my hand. Here are the rest of the hooks. So as I said, from 2mm up to 8mm. I actually haven't used any of the hooks in this hand. I just haven't had a project to use them for yet. However, the hook that I would recommend to every beginner is the 4mm hook because it is featured in a lot of tutorials online, so you won't have to worry about not having a suitable hook. And it's compatible with quite a few yarns. You can even use it with thicker yarn, like fluffy yarn, but it depends on what types of projects you're going to be crocheting. Moving on to all of the other things that came in the little pouch. So here are stitch markers, which I would definitely recommend you investing in because they're very useful to mark certain stitches or remember certain places. A tape measure, especially if you're going to be crocheting garments. And then this is a stitch or row counter, which I have to admit I haven't really used, but it definitely seems useful. And then they also gave this little ring which has a blade on it to cut off the yarn, which again seems useful, but I haven't really used. And then this didn't come with the set, but I definitely recommend some sharp scissors. I got this off of Amazon as well. I also forgot to show my tapestry needles, but that is another thing that I would highly recommend you to get to tuck away all of your loose tail ends. You could also use a smaller crochet hook, but this is up to you. Tapestry needles usually do come in those little pencil cases on Amazon. So for all of these stitch samples that I'm going to be showing you how to crochet, I am using some scrap acrylic yarn, and scrap yarn is just some leftover yarn from projects, as well as a 4mm crochet hook. Before we can crochet stitches, we have to learn how to make a slip knot. So you're going to hold your yarn. This is going to be the tail end, so you're going to leave a couple of inches of yarn at the front and you're going to hold it with your thumb and index and middle finger. You're going to take the working yarn, which is attached to the ball, and you're going to wrap it around your two fingers and cross it over to make an X shape, like so. I'm going to demonstrate once more. So just hold it, wrap it straight around the back of your fingers, and then you're going to cross it over to make an X shape. Then you're going to take your hook, insert it underneath the first loop of the X, and grab the second loop and pull it through and up. So now it is on your hook and all you have to do is just tighten it. So pull your hook up and that will tighten the yarn. And that is how you make a slip knot. Here I am just going to demonstrate once more because I know that when you're a beginner, it can be a bit tricky, and especially this craft being quite fiddly at times. So again, just insert your hook underneath the first loop, grab the second one, pull it through and up to tighten, and that is your slip knot. And you are ready to start chaining, which again, I will show you how to do. I've seen a couple of comments under my videos asking about magic circles and how to do them. Now, if you can do a slip knot, you are halfway to being able to do a magic circle. And the reason for this is because if you see what I'm doing here, I'm wrapping it around exactly the same way that I did for the slip knot. So once you do this, you're going to take your hook, put it underneath the first loop, grab the second one, and you're going to very slowly pull it up only a little bit. Do not pull it up all the way. And you're going to hold it. Take your index and your thumb, hold the loop and the little tail end, and then you can take the yarn that's attached to the ball of yarn and pull it to tighten it. Then yarn over that yarn and then pull through the loop, and that's a chain. And this is the magic circle. This is all it is. I feel like it's confusing because as a beginner, there's a lot happening, but if you can do a slip knot, you can absolutely do a magic circle. It is only a few steps different, and here I'm going to be repeating the process to show you once more. So now that we have learned how to create a slip knot, the magic circle was just for demonstration purposes. We're not going to be using it throughout this video. So just create a slip knot on your hook as we were practicing earlier. And now I'm going to teach you how to chain as well as create single crochets. I'm just holding the tail end of the yarn, the little excess strand of yarn, which is much shorter. And here I'm going to demonstrate just a couple of different ways of how you could hold your hook, because this is of course something that you're going to have to discover, and it's quite personal. It's, you know, whatever's comfortable for you. I can't really tell you how to hold it because the way that I hold my hook may be uncomfortable. Like some people hold their crochet hook like this and wrap the yarn around their index finger to hold the tension, but that's one thing that you are going to have to figure out, is the way that you hold tension. Like this is how I do it, for example, here. But now what you're going to do is you're going to put your crochet hook underneath the yarn and grab it and then pull it through the loop of the slip knot that we created. And this is how you chain. So again, you're going to yarn over, grab it and pull it through the loop. So this is our second chain. I'm doing this a third time. And in total, I'm going to be doing this 20 times. So we've already done 3. Just yarn over, pull through the loop, and that is our 4th chain. Just keep repeating this and count until you have 20. Here is my completed chain of 20. This is what yours should look like as well. Now that we have our 20 chains, we are actually going to be chaining one more. And this is because it is going to be acting as our first single crochet. This is done so that we can start our single crochets and keep that 20 chains. Because if we chain 20 and then say single crochet into the second chain from the hook, we are only going to have 19 single crochets, if that makes sense. So if you look at your chains, count 1, 2, the second chain from the top of your hook is where we are going to insert our hook. So insert through the little V the 2 stitches right there, you're going to insert your hook through that, and you should now have 2 of the loops on your crochet hook, so in total 3. Here I'm just showing you again. And then yarn over, grab the yarn, pull it through those 2 loops, and now you've pulled up a loop. And then you're going to yarn over and pull through both of those loops. And this is how you single crochet. So now to do this again, you see that next stitch right there. We're going to insert our hook, insert it, make sure you have both of the 2 loops on there, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. So now we've done our second single crochet, and we are going to repeat this all the way down the remaining chains. Now I've reached the end of my row and I'm just placing my last single crochet. And this is row 1 complete. So this is what my completed row 1 looks like. This is what yours should hopefully look like as well. Just inserting my hook back in. We are now going to be chaining 1, and this is how we are going to be starting row 2. So just chain 1, and then turn your work so now you are looking at the back side. And this is what the back of your work should look like. So now this stitch right here, the very first stitch right after your chain, you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop through the little gap, make sure you have both loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So this is our first single crochet of row 2. Make sure, insert your hook, you have 2 of the loops on your hook, so in total 3, like so. Yarn over, pull through, pull up, yarn over and pull through 2. And again, we are just going to be placing single crochets all the way down the remaining stitches up until the end. I've reached the end of row 2 and I'm just placing my last single crochet. I've now reached the end of row 2 and this is what your work should be looking like so far. I'm also right now going to be taking apart a few stitches to show you what to do if, say, you accidentally pull out your yarn and you lose a few stitches. So you're going to pull up the loop from the next stitch that you can, insert your hook and just continue placing normal single crochets. This can go for any type of stitch that you're doing. You just pick up where you left off. To begin row 3 is exactly the same as we did for row 1 when we began row 2, is chain 1, turn your work, and then insert your hook into the first stitch after the chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and just continue placing single crochets all down the row, and I'll meet you back at the end. Finally, I'm just placing my last stitch of row 3. This for me is my final sample. I'm only going to be doing 3 rows with you today, but to continue practicing, you can keep increasing the rows as we have been doing. But I'm just going to show you how to finish off your sample. So now we are just going to chain 1 and then pull up a big loop. And we're doing this because we are now going to grab our scissors and cut off the yarn. And then with the remaining tail, we are going to tuck it in using a tapestry needle to hide the evidence. So now you can just pull the yarn through completely and make sure you tug on it a little bit to tighten it. And this is the completed sample. I am now just going to show you how to tuck away the little tails. So you're just going to take your tapestry needle and thread one of the ends through the hole. Then you're just going to flip your work to the back. This is the back of my work, and then this is what the front looks like. So here I'm just showing you this is the front and this is the back. And what we are going to do is we're going to take our tapestry needle and we are just going to insert it through the backs of stitches. So here I'm doing my best to go through 2 loops, the 2 loops of the stitches, but honestly it doesn't really matter because it's going to be at the back of your work, so it's not going to be visible. But just make sure that you go through quite a few stitches, because the more that you go through, the less likelihood that your work will unravel. So I'm just tucking away this is where the slip knot would have been. So this little end is where we created our slip knot, and I'm tucking this away, and you're going to tuck the top loose thread away the same way as well, but I'm not doing that here because I'm going to take this out and show you how to do the other stitches because I don't need this sample. And then you can just take your scissors and cut it off. I still do leave a tiny bit of the yarn just in case it moves a bit, but I'm not cutting it off again because I'm going to take it out, but you should. And yeah, you're going to tuck away the top thread, and that is your single crochet sample complete. Now I'm going to be teaching you how to half double crochet. So as we've done previously, you're going to start by creating a slip knot on your hook. Now make sure that you are holding onto the scrap tail end, which is where of course we did our slip knot. And now you are just going to chain 20 exactly as we did for the single crochet sample. Here is my completed chain of 20. Now if you remember, in the single crochet sample we chained 1 extra, but for a half double crochet you're going to chain 2 extra. So 1, 2, then yarn over, and you're going to count 3 chains from your hook. So 1, 2, 3, and you're going to yarn over and insert your hook into the 3rd chain from your hook. Yarn over, pull through the chain and up. And now you can see we have 3 loops on our hook. So what you're going to do is you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And this is how you create a half double crochet. So I'm going to show you again. Yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, like so. Now you have 4 loops, yarn over, pull through the chain, and now you've just pulled up a loop. So you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3. And this is your second half double crochet, with of course the chain of 2 acting as the first, so I guess you could say 3. And then you are just going to repeat this exact same process all the way down the rest of the chains. I've reached the end and now I'm going to be placing my final half double crochet of row 1. This is what my work looks like so far. Almost did a single crochet there, but don't forget to yarn over and just placing my last half double crochet. And this is row 1 completed. And now I'm going to show you how to start for row 2. So just insert your hook back in and you're going to chain 2 this time. In this clip I only chained 1. I'm not sure why, but please chain once more. I must have got carried away there, but once you've chained your 2, yarn over and into the first stitch, which comes after the chain 2. You're going to yarn over, insert your hook, make sure you get both of the loops, yarn over and pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2. You're going to be repeating this all the way down until you reach the end, and I'll meet you back. Here is where I'm going to be placing my last half double crochet. I'm just showing you to count 3 stitches, 3 chains from the bottom, so 1, 2, and then into the third is where you're going to yarn over and place your final half double crochet, because I know that it can be easy to mistake the chains for a stitch, so I'm just making sure that you're aware. And this is what row 2 of half double crochets looks like. So you are now going to chain 2. Again, I chain 1 in this clip as well. I'm not sure why, but just chain 2. But hey, if you ever forget to chain 2 and you only chain 1, you can see that that doesn't really do anything to your work. It's just that we chained 2 at the beginning, so just yarn over and insert your hook into the first stitch after the chain 2. Pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. As we've been doing up until this point, just place normal half double crochets up until the end of row 3. I am going to show you how to add yarn here though, because if you run out of yarn, you're going to have to add some more on. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Here I have just yarn over, inside my hook, into the stitch, pulled up a loop, and I need to add more yarn. So you're going to take the new strand of yarn, drape it over your hook so that the tail end is facing the back, and then you're going to pull that through all of the 3 loops. So you've just done your half double crochet but with the new yarn. So you're going to hold on to the 2 tail ends like so. You're going to yarn over and insert your hook into the next stitch. Make sure you now place the 2 strands over your hook so that when you pull up a loop, you half double crochet over the 2 strands. So later on, we won't have to use the tapestry needle to tuck them away. And now you're just going to normally half double crochet over these 2 strands up until the end of row 3. Now I'm just going to be placing my final half double crochet. And this is what 3 rows of half double crochets look like. And this is what the back looks like. Of course, with that little extra piece, you can just cut that off, because that is where, if you've added yarn, that's where you can cut it off if you've crocheted over it. So now I'm just inserting my hook back in, and I'm going to chain 1 and then pull up a big loop, and that's where you cut off your yarn and pull it through. But here I'm not going to do that because I am going to take this out right after I finish recording. But yeah, this is what 3 rows of half double crochets look like. Now the final stitch that I will be showing you how to crochet is a double crochet. So to start that, we are going to start completely the same as we've been doing before. So create a slip knot on your hook and then chain 20. I am just going to speed up this part because I have done a slower demonstration at the beginning of the video. Here are the 20 chains. So similar to the previous demonstrations, you are going to chain not 1, not 2, but 3. So you're going to chain 3 chains and then yarn over and count 4 chains from your hook, because in the 4th chain, that is where you are going to be placing a double crochet. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. Now, like the half double crochet, you have 3 loops on your hook, but this time you are going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops only. So now that you've pulled through 2 loops, you're going to yarn over and pull through the remaining 2 loops, and that is how you do a double crochet. The chain of 3 acts as the first double crochet. So you're going to yarn over and into the next stitch, insert your hook just like we did before, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the chain, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And here are your 2 double crochets along with the chain of 3. And we are just going to be repeating this all the way down the chain. So here I'm just going to be placing my last double crochet of row 1. And this is what your first completed row should look like. Now to move on to row 2, usually for double crochets I chain 3, but clearly in my headspace when I was recording these clips, I don't know what I was doing, but I only chained 2. Regardless if you chain 2 or 3, it's not really going to make that much of a difference, but usually I would chain 3, so I'd say chain 3. So after your chain, you're going to yarn over and insert your hook into the first stitch after the chains. Yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. You're just going to be repeating double crochets, normal double crochets, all the way down for row 2, just as you've been doing for the first row. I'm also going to show you how to add in yarn if you run out. So here I have yarned over, inserted my hook, pulled up a loop, and then yarned over, pulled through 2. So I have done half of my double crochet and I've run out of yarn. So I'm going to take my new strand of yarn, and as we did before during the half double crochet, we are just going to drape it over the hook with the tail end facing away from you. And I'm just going to complete the double crochet by pulling it through the 2 loops. And now I'm just going to hold on to the 2 extra tail ends, and we are going to be crocheting over them. So I'm just holding on. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the next stitch, make sure that the two ends are over your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. So we are just going to be continuing normal double crochets, making sure that we double crochet over the extra tail ends so that we don't have to tuck them away later using a tapestry needle. Now I'm just placing my last double crochet of row 2. Making sure to crochet over the tail ends. And this is what my row 2 of double crochets looks like. Moving on to the final row of this sample. Let's see if I chain 3. Of course I didn't chain 3. Chain 3, please. Yarn over and insert your hook into the first stitch after the chain. And continue placing normal double crochets as you've been doing since row 1. And this is just how you are going to build up your practice square. I think that it would be really helpful to repeat this a bunch more times. That is completely up to you, like you can keep repeating this as many times as you want, but I'm only doing 3 rows for the sake of this video because I think at a point you can replay and watch parts that confuse you. Hopefully I'm doing a good job at explaining. Here I'm just placing my last double crochet of row 3. And this is what our final sample is looking like. Of course, as I said before, you can build this up for as many rows as you like. At the end, once you're finished, just chain 1, and I didn't really need to cut off the yarn because it was already, I didn't have much left. And yeah, of course, as I showed you before, you can tuck away all of the little ends. If you have crocheted over the yarn that you've added in, make sure to just snip that off because we've crocheted over it, so it's safe to cut off. Just make sure that you've crocheted enough double crochets. The final 2 subjects I'll be merging together, and those are hook size alongside tension. So here I'm using an 8mm hook with 100 grams of DK yarn when the recommended hook size is 4mm, and you can see that the stitches are extremely loose. And this is what happens when you use a larger hook in comparison to the size of the yarn. And now I'm using a 4mm hook with the same yarn, and this is the recommended hook size. And you can see that the stitches look so much nicer. Here is a side-by-side comparison. So ultimately, the tighter the tension, the tighter the stitches will be, and the looser the tension, the looser and easier to work with the stitches will be. And the same thing kind of goes for the hook. So the larger the hook in comparison to the yarn, the bigger the chain and stitches will be. And these are things that I'd recommend you to keep in mind. And that is the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found it useful, especially if you had minimal knowledge on crochet or maybe not even any knowledge. I hope I was able to help you. And if you have any more questions, let me know in the comments. I'll be sure to respond. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!